Hello, my name is Aoife Dean and this is the Happy Weight Podcast. I want to jump straight into this episode. Actually, no, I don't. I would like you to like and subscribe. That would be really nice. But I do want to talk today about the patterns that we will find behind our overeating. So we really disempower ourselves, right? When we're like, oh, it was a bad day or it was a bad week. And then I think we're tiptoeing over towards the thing that like, I'm the problem, it's me. And so we're just doing this kind of blanket view of things, and we can really go down like a victim story. Because I remember with me, I was like, it all started with my mom, and then it was my PCOS, and then it was the steroids. And we can just keep making this big, long story narrative about it. That's, like I said, we're just kind of disempowering ourselves. We're making an identity of it. And now we want to break free of all of that, and we want to divide and conquer. So no 2 times that you overeat or binge, in fact, no 2 times that you eat in general are exactly the same. There's always absolutely different things behind it. You're always in like a different mood or a different environment, different triggers, different things happened before, tiredness, etc. So today I want to go over those patterns. So how I see it, right, is it's like if you were to think back on your week, right? And so there's a little problem here with the eating here, and there was a little problem here, and they're all just like equations or maths to solve, right? That's the benefit. Some of these patterns that we spot in ourselves are actually like simple enough to change, actually. It's just we have to come out of the victim story that we're fat and we'll always be fat. We actually, like I said, we have to divide and conquer all the individual times that we overeat or have a dodgy time with food or our body. So some of them I've written on my laptop. So I kind of think self-awareness is such a big one, right? So like, say for instance, right, say the last 4 days I overate. And it'd be very simple to say like, oh, I'm in a bad phase, I'm in a bad week. But like I said, all 4 of those times were a completely different set of circumstances. So to give you an example, I had a client yesterday, right? And like her Monday night was just weird. It was just weird. Like she had actually a nice enough day with food. And then she came home and she wanted nice things. And I think part of the problem was there was nothing actually that nice. So she was having like a C of 4 out of 10, not that nice kind of food. So she was just never fully like satisfied, you know? But anyway, that wasn't the main problem. The main problem was then after that, the shame train came and she started feeling really guilty. Like, you know, she had overeaten, her belly was really full and gross feeling. All the shame, all the guilt, all the doubt, like, what am I doing? Where am I at? Will I ever lose weight? All of that started. And then that lingered kind of the next day. And then the next night, she ate way more. So it was way more of a problem. So that's why I kind of think in those times, right? Like say that little example, which is a super common one, you are never reflecting on what happened last night. You are creating. You're never reflecting, you're creating. So however she reflected on the night before, you know, when she was in that morning that day, she was deciding her vibe. So we're either coming into today with the vibe of someone with a weight problem or the vibe with someone without a weight problem. And I had to remind her, do you know that lots of people around Ireland that night or around the world, like might have eaten too much, their belly might have been full, but they didn't go to bed hating themselves. They didn't have all the judgment. They didn't wake up with guilt and shame. They didn't tell themselves that they're fat, they're getting fat, they'll always be fat, etc. They didn't do any of that. So the thing is, there's a consequence for the vibe we choose. So if we choose that vibe, if we choose oh, I'm going to reflect and feel bad about myself, it's like, okay, but now you're choosing the caricature of a weight problem person today. So you can probably set your clock to some dodgy eating. And it's not even about the food. It's not even about the calories. It's that when we're in that like zone of, oh, I'm in a bad phase or I'm fat anyways or whatever, our eating is not mindful. It's not memorable. We're not like being discerning. We're not like treating ourselves well and saying like we deserve the best food, eaten in the nicest way, we deserve to feel well after. Nah, it's all just a sea of nonsense. It's all just like whatever goes. Or we might be like trying to be good at this time and then bad at another time. And it's just all over the place. So it's like we have to do the vibe check first. We have to be like, I'm coming into the day letting go of all my baggage and I'm moving forward into feeling really, really well today. So like as in, so that little story between the Monday and Tuesday night, that was one cause for overeating, right? Which would be totally separate from another one that is super common, which is seeing a photo of yourself and, reacting badly to it and overeating from that. So say someone on Wednesday then could see a bad photo, feel bad and overeat. So the night with guilt leading to overeating the next night, that might occur, say, twice a month. Then seeing a bad photo of yourself and basically creating a bad narrative around that, like, oh my God, I've let myself go. I'm not, like, whatever it is, whatever the negative narrative around the photo is. Anyway, that might happen maybe once a month or whatever. And our weight problem is the subtotal of all our overeating, which is a subtotal of all these mini parts, like I said, that are like little sums to solve. And so that one with the photo, right? I think, first of all, by the way, I'm on a bit of a vibe at the moment that we've two eyes and they're facing out. And I think life punishes you if you're always like looking in. Like our eyes are there to be out looking at other people. And it is not our job to be always looking at ourselves. And it's like, yes, we can honor and love our body. And I kind of think from the religious point of view, we were made in the image and likeness of God. So by being mean about our body, we're being mean to God or whatever. If you might be that way of thinking as well, you might not be. But life punishes you badly if we're always looking in and we're always looking at how we're looking. So how you look in a way is everyone else's business. Like it's not your business. So how you look in a photo, how you look walking down the street, who cares? Like for us, and I've been really vibing off of this week, by the way. And I know it doesn't matter. But I definitely got checked out more this week. I think because I was thinking this, like there's no such thing as a private thought. People hear your thoughts. People hear if you're saying negative things to yourself. People hear if you're saying positive things to yourself. And that's the other thing with like, it's actually how we feel always matters. Like I was thinking, there was this night out in Edinburgh when I went to college there. My sisters came over for Hogmanay, New Year's Eve, and we'd been doing all the touristy things during the day. And then we just ended up going straight out. We ended up going straight to the pubs and the clubs, and we were all like soaked wet. We were in absolute daytime clothes. None of us had got like dicky dolled up. Some of us weren't wearing makeup. And we had the best night of our lives. And we did so much chatting and so much mingling because, like, I don't know, we just didn't care. So it's like, in terms of, say, guys coming up chatting to you, like, we did better though that night than we did for any of the nights we got super dicky dolled up, because it's always about you, how you feel. So like I said, it's like, actually, as long as we're being supportive and loving and nurturing to our body, how we actually look is none of our business. And attractiveness is always about how we feel, right? So when you lean into that, right, it doesn't matter a shit if you look bad in a photo. It doesn't. Like I was at this business breakfast meeting this morning in Park Equive, and like all the speakers there, they all had like headshot photos behind them as they were speaking. And like, every single one of them looked better in real life and looked younger and everything. So photos tell you diddly squat about someone or their energy or how youthful they are or energetic or whatever in real life. So I think we have to remember that. But anyways, when it comes to triggers, right? When we see a bad photo and we have a tsunami of maybe hate, regret, judgment, fear, fear of what we look like, fear of where we're going, how we look or weight or whatever, we have to stop there and we have to be quite logical about this. And we have to be kind of like, this has caught me up before. There was that other time that people sent me on the photos of the night and I looked awful, or the work photos went round or whatever. And I remember how I felt. I remember how I ate. So we have to take accountability for our patterns with that. And then we have to jump in and we have to self-soothe. So like my nice name for myself, which is the opposite of the eating disorder voice, is I just call myself Pettine. And I'd be like, okay, Pettine, you can be sensitive to photos, okay? So, like remember now last time you saw the bad photo of yourself and you felt very upset and you kind of took it out on your belly and your body and you ate a lot of stuff in a kind of hateful, urgent way. So remember that you've a little susceptibility to that, right? So let's take a second, let's breathe. That photo doesn't define you. It's just a photo. It could be Kate Moss and she could look shit. Everyone has shit photos. So like, let's choose to kind of compartmentalize this and let's choose to self-soothe and let's choose to emotionally regulate. It's kind of a bit of a check yourself before you wreck yourself situation. We have to like catch the nonsense on the spiral and like bring ourselves back down to calm. And I don't know why that's reminding me, but another typical one, right, is going to the doctor, going to a consultant, seeing a nurse. Like, people can be very insensitive and uneducated, and especially people, well, we're kind of screwed either way, right? Because people who suffer from their own eating and weight issues tend to be absolutely the worst and the most fattest people that say all the wrong things. But then people who are ignorant and who have never had eating or weight issues say a lot of clangers as well. And I could write a book of stories from people who they went to the doctor, didn't like the cut of his jib, what he was kind of saying to them, how it made them feel, and they went home and they binged, or personal trainers or nurses or whatever. So I probably would have told you this before, but whenever I go to see my consultants about my autoimmune disease, I kind of make almost a point of saying, by the way, I've had eating disorders, so I'd rather not know my weight, because then no one thinks you're on about being 3 stone heavier. Everyone thinks you're on about anorexia. So it's just, everyone's like, oh shit, back off, don't tell her weight. So, but when I was only gaining confidence in all of this, I really had to be like, okay, Pettine, you're going to go in there now. They might say things, don't take it bad. I had to really do a lot of self-coaching and preparation, like just a little, not loads, like maybe in the car park and walking in, because again, there was a pattern of emotional fallout after seeing a healthcare professional. There was a pattern of me feeling really bad about myself. And when we feel fat, we act like a fat person. So we have to, like, again, stop, check ourselves before we wreck ourselves, and like emotionally self-soothe, like do whatever we need to do to put it in context. Because to be honest, right, if you're listening to this podcast, you are working on yourself. So you are doing your bit, right? And this is a lot of little bits and pieces to figure out. But being made feel like you're behind or you're not doing enough or you're not where you should be with your weight, that only ever makes us overeat, right? So we really have to protect ourselves against someone making us feel like that, because we need to be empowered for a transformation. And in order to be empowered for a transformation, we need to really believe that I am exactly where I need to be today for where I want to move on to next. So no regret, no baggage, no, I'm not where I should be. Polar opposite for getting results now. Another one, and it's sneaky. It's really sneaky. A lot of people don't notice this one. I remember I brought my nephew Rian to Musgrave Park for a rugby game, and like he had a brilliant night. There was me and his brother and my brother, and he was getting signed autographs from the players and photos and all of that. He was delighted with himself. And then we were like, okay, Rian, we're going to hop into the car and we're going to go home. And he bolted. And I think it was my sister then telling me that like that can be a thing, the transitional thing. And then it's so weird, right? Because I've been working in eating and weight issues for 17 years and I've had them myself. And that is such a thing, right? Coming home up from holidays and like yesterday you were in Spain, now you're back at home into routine. Or like I've one client there, I just saw her actually, and she goes down to stay with her mom one weekend every month or whatever. And then coming back to where she lives, then like there's a little bit of a wobbly transition period, or even when we move somewhere new or when there's a new job or whatever. So that's another part that almost it's almost knowing it actually is sometimes enough to heal it. It's like awareness is the first step. So it's kind of like, Pettine, you're going to be driving down now from Dublin Airport on Sunday. You might have the fear about starting work in the morning. You might be all unorganized and you've not done a food shop, or the house is in a mess, or I don't know, there's kids' projects to do or forms to fill, who knows. And we just want to be kind of like, okay, how can I wrap myself in cotton wool in these 24 hours? What do I need to do to stay like calm and steady Eddie and comforted and feeling nice or feeling regulated? What do I need to do with food? Like, what would be an exciting food to look forward to, so I don't have to be snacking on a sea of mediocre? I can just have a one and done gorgeous meal that like I'm hungry for and it's delicious and I feel really nice in the evening. So that's another one to be aware of. Next one, this comes up an awful lot as well. You know what's really sad in general? Like for a lot of my clients, you know, I'm always on about like, what are you up to this weekend now? And they'll be like, oh, I'm going out with that bunch of girls, and that bunch of girls I've been friends with forever. And so how it goes is, one of them and me have always been dieting. So we always chat about diets. And then there's two of the girls who are nonstop talking about diets, but have never been overweight and are like sizes smaller than us. And then there's one girl who doesn't care and she's never had issues and she eats whatever and she's not overweight. So that can be the mix an awful lot of the time. And that's a tough situation, right? Because like it's kind of like someone who wants to give up drugs hanging out with people who do drugs. Like, I always have to kind of instruct my clients that that friendship that you have with the one that you've done all the diets together and you always chat about your weight and your fatness, like you'll kind of have to transform that relationship. Like you like, just like it would be really unhealthy to form a relationship around being a drug addict, that like it really closes you in if you ever want to give up drugs. For my client now who wants to become a healthy weight and be in a good place with food, she can't be doing broken, toxic chit chat about good foods, bad foods, how much she ate this week, how disgusting her body is. Like, you can't go there if you want to become a healthy weight and have a normal relationship with food. But anyways, the trigger in that as well as kind of keeping your one at bay and not entertaining those conversations anymore. The other one is like basically skinny girls who go on about how fat they are. Like, that's really also a trigger. And, you know, like I know myself from being in it, but my clients would be like, what do they want me to say? It's like, evidently she's sizes smaller than me and she's giving out about how fat she is. Like, does she want my validation? Like she obviously realizes I'm bigger than her. So like, why would she even be saying that? So that can be a triggering situation. And for that, I would be like, okay, your one's got issues. And like, this is the other thing, just in general with chats about eating and weight problems, I wish people knew how contagious it is. Like, your eating and weight issues are contagious. It's kind of like, you know, get help, fix it in your mind, but don't spread that shit. Don't be talking about your body, what you ate, diets, weight loss. Don't be doing it, because you don't know who at the table you're hurting. And especially with kids. Kids are nuts. I have so many stories as well. Like, I really, really believe that thing that there's no such thing as a private thought. Just like there's a difference when your friend is pissed off with you versus when she's not pissed off with you. Even if she won't tell you what's wrong with her, you know by her energy, her facial expressions, what she's doing or not doing, that she's pissed off with you. And it's the same for little kids when we're around them and we hate our bodies. They don't need you to say it in so many words. Your energy is enough. So yeah, but with those friends who are commenting on their body, so with those friends that are commenting on their body, just remind yourself, or like say it over and over again as they're talking crap. She's on her journey. I'm on mine. I'm exactly where I need to be. I have a right to feel better. I have a right to move forward. Let her with her stuff. This is contagious. I don't want to catch fear. Fear is contagious as well. So she's having her fears around her eating and weight, I already have my own plate of fears to deal with my eating and weight. So I let her keep hers to herself. And you just kind of create a kind of almost, I don't know, an energetic boundary that you're not letting that stuff in. And then another like basic time, say like, then on Thursday I overate. And sometimes they're really simple and they're not disordered at all. Sometimes it's just that like we didn't eat enough earlier in the day, not by our mind's opinion, but by our stomach's opinion. And another one with that is we didn't get enough pleasure in food that day or that week. And that's why we were catching up and eating more. And again, it doesn't matter whether our mind thought we got pleasurable enough foods. It's did our taste buds think we got enough pleasurable foods. So when those two things happen, which they will, like I said, we have to divide and conquer because it's a way of empowering ourselves. You know, I remember for myself going through this, it was kind of like, oh, geez, why did I eat so much last night? And then I was like, I look back on it and I'd be like, sure, for God's sake, anyone who ate that and that for lunch would have needed to eat that much in the evening. Or like, why did I binge on Friday night? It's like, now that I look back on it, it's like I scrimped there. I was restrictive there. I didn't have a nice thing there. Like there was a lot of restriction building up. So that'd be the case with anyone then, that it would just be a like boom, blowout of binging somewhere else. So everything is very rational and very logical when we break it all down to small little sums that we can solve and we can get good at. And it's self-awareness is great. It's great to be aware of our patterns because then we've something to work on, you know, and it's so much more hopeful. It's the opposite of blame, you know, say blaming our childhood or our meds or this or that. Empowerment is like, ooh, I have these patterns and I'm willing to figure them out and solve them and react differently and stuff like that. So thank you so much for being here and have a lovely, 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 lovely week. Mwah.